Which promoter? Steve Crawford might be a new listener. We got a lot of new people in here, Rip. We're getting so big right now on YouTube. We got all these newbies in here.
Okay.
Which promoters paid the best and worst based upon the gates? Did they always base on gates back then, or was it they just told you what you were going to make? And how did it work typically?
Well, basically years ago, you'd look at basically 30% of the house was what they'd pay to the guys. Then they would split it up where how you were based on the card. It was usually 30%, but some of the houses were so fucking bad, they'd have a fucking minimum. And when you get in the promotion business, you figure out a lot of the stuff. It ain't going to be happening because there's always more expenses than anything. Wrestling business, that's why there's not many places to go because it's hard to make a buck at it.
So do you remember who paid like the best or worst?
I always thought Don Owen always paid 50%.
Where was he at?
Well, that was in the territory in Portland, Oregon. Then he went up to Vancouver too. But yeah, that was guys could go there and they had pretty short trips. And we all stayed at the Bomber Hotel. When I was up there, Piper was there, Martel was up there, Agent Adonis, Jesse Ventura, Playboy Buddy Rose, the Bushwhackers, Salvatore Balomo, Iceman King Parsons, Johnny Mantell. We had a good crew.
Who were some of the worst pay, or one of the worst?
Oh, Nick Goulas.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that enabled by him paying low, he was enabled to stay in the business for how many years?
Gave it all to his son.
I think George, George worked in the office, so he could. He's probably bringing the money back and taking half the money back and putting it in his pocket and using it on hookers.
John Tucker might be new to the show, new to the channel. Welcome. I know you're probably not going to answer his question, but he'll learn quickly what you answer and don't answer. What was your biggest payoff? I'm sure Rip's not just going to say,
"No, you don't."
Hey, I made this much money.
No, you don't ask that. That's one of the unwritten rules, which today people don't even know. I know nobody in or AEW would know about it, but you don't ask that.
Rip, SM White II. Rip, did you live in Pensacola like most working for Fuller? Did you work with Marty Lundy, AA, Arn Anderson there?
Yeah, we lived real close together. We didn't. No, most of the guys, they all lived in Gulf Breeze, which is like a suburb of Pensacola. And I stayed in a lot of the wrestlers. They owned like fourplexes. Like there were 4 apartments, and Arn Anderson stayed with Scott Armstrong. I can't remember who else, but I think it was one of the Armstrong brothers' condominium was what it was.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, Arn was on the beach every day. We trained the same gym. He had the short trips in Pensacola, so that was always fun. So he had a great career there.
Do you know how he ever got into being an Anderson?
I don't know, but he looked well. Ole had that beard, right?
Yeah,
and he could go as a cousin, no matter what, just by dressing the same, having the half-ass same ass build, pretty much the same height, and working the same style. I remember Arn was Marty Lundy working for Bill Watts before that.
Oh, was he really?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, did somebody, because back then they say, hey, I got a guy. Did somebody say, hey, I got a guy that looks kind of like an Anderson? Or did Ole just see him and say, hey, he looks like an Anderson? Or did he just show up one day and they're like, hey.
That might have been it. Probably Ole told him that.
I remember watching it as a kid, but I don't remember what year it was. Maybe a teenager. I remember on TBS, they would go to clips to different like territories. Like maybe, I don't know, did they go to like Championship Wrestling of Florida maybe or somewhere? And they would have Ole would be at the desk with like Gordon Soley, and they'd be watching a clip of Arn Anderson working somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ole would say, oh, yeah, that's my, what was he, cousin or nephew or whatever, and talked about him coming in.
Well, that's what you do. Is you have somebody when you're coming in, like if you was working, let's just say if you was working in Tampa, Florida, and you were going to be in there in 6 weeks, each week you'd cut a promo, or they'd have a special they would do on you of you doing some stuff in matches or playing music to it or whatever, so that when you come in there, you weren't a stranger. Even though they haven't seen you live, they've seen you on TV 6 weeks in a row. All of a sudden, here comes Arn Anderson. Well, hell, he's a tough son of a bitch. I've seen him on TV every week. He's coming in from Tampa.
Yeah.
So it's just a preview of what you're getting.
Big gold and a billfold, so swole that I can't get the shit closed. So I money fold and rubber band wrap, and when it pop.